Yo, what is going on YouTube? We are back with another banger. In this video, I'm going to be talking about the 3 things that I've learned since starting my own fitness coaching business. All right, let's get right into it. So the 3 lessons that I've actually learned since starting my own fitness coaching business. Now, before I get into this, I just briefly want to talk on when I started this business in the first place, why, and how. Right. So when was about a year and a half ago, but I was kind of dabbling for a while, coaching a client or two, giving out free programs, things of this nature. Then I went into in-person training, and then I started to pick up some traction with the online coaching. And 6 months ago was when I fully committed to being an online coach, and I left the in-person setting. And that's the when. The why is because it's been my passion to help people with fitness since as long as I can remember. And fitness has changed my life, and I've loved helping people, with their own fitness and changing their life and their mindset, through it, right? And also, I wanted time freedom, which I'll kind of get to in this video, but I wanted time freedom so I wasn't chained down. I was working most days, 18 to 20-hour days at the gym, and I would maybe have like a day off on Sundays, most of which I would still drive into the gym and lift. And the gym's like an hour from my house, by the way. I'm not like right nearby, so it was not the easiest thing by any means. But I loved the aspect of working in a gym, right? I loved working with my clients. What I didn't love is having to be all or nothing. And what I mean by that is the company I worked for, the gym, like nothing against them, right? Like, but it just wasn't for me because the business was really big on, like, the company I worked for, the gym, was really big, as any corporate company is, right? On like me hitting, as every other trainer was, like me hitting my numbers, right? And so my clients were getting really good results. They were getting in shape. They were telling me how my coaching and my, philosophies around training had made such a big impact. People were sending me like cards, giving me gifts. I'm like, bro, it's really not that big of a deal. Like, I like what I do. But like, people were overly telling me like, dude, you're making a big impact on my life, and not just with the fitness, feeling better, looking better, having more confidence, but also like it's carrying over into my relationships, my career. I'm making more money. I'm improving, my relationships at work, getting raises, things of this nature. And so like it was a good feeling because like I'm so passionate about fitness, and I literally truly believe that I could change anybody's life as it changed mine, which we'll save that for another video. Um, I've talked on that a lot already, but anyways, the business, the gym basically was like, dude, like you can't coach just the select few clients that you already have. You need to be coaching on a mass of clients, meaning like you have to hit your sales numbers, right? And if you don't hit your numbers, then we're gonna have to part ways, right? And so what happened was I went from one of the lowest sales people in the company at like, I don't know, 22 or 23 out of like 25 trainers to number two. And then for a short stint, I was at number one for sales. And I started to lose a lot of like fulfillment with the process. I was like, dude, I don't want to be doing it for this. Like, I don't want to be, you know, wasting 18, 20-hour days, spending very little time on my own health, getting sleep, like my meal prep and stuff, just to be able to like stay here at the gym. Like, I just want to be able to coach people and like help people with their fitness. And like, it's not an issue of like the clients, it's a matter of like the business standards want me here, right? So I did that for a few months, and I ended up feeling like, dude, this is not worth it. I don't really want to, or not at all do I want to like be working, 100-hour weeks most weeks. And a lot of that was not actual work. It was just me at the gym, like hanging out, you know, trying to get, you know, maybe new clients in the door, or, you know, trying to like make sure that I hit my numbers in terms of like, okay, I don't have all the sales numbers that you want me to have quite yet, but what I do have is the hours that I'm clocked in here. So this way, like, I can't lose my position. And eventually, I got to a spot where I was like, dude, you know what? It's really not worth it. Like, I don't want to waste my entire life at this gym. But most importantly, I know that I want to coach people even more. Like, I want to help so many more people. I want to make a big impact in the fitness game. So that's what led to me becoming an online coach. So that's the why, and that's the when. And the what basically is an online coaching setting. So I work with my coach, with my clients virtually. So we're meeting, once a week. Sometimes they need more, a little bit more frequently. Um, and like I have a community now with like all men that are trying to level up not just their fitness in their mindset, but also like put on muscle, shred fat, achieve their ideal physique, ultimately become the best possible version of themselves. And there's a lot of my clients that have actually leaned into asking me questions about my faith. And there's a lot of people that I work with now that are also, you know, able to have a relationship with God because they've asked me questions about like my faith, which is like amazing. And I truly don't think I would have ever gotten to this position had I stayed at the gym because there's a lot of legalities to say the least. But when my clients ask me questions about faith, I'm able to actually help them. And a lot of them had told me, like, dude, like, you've made a big impact on my life. And that's allowed me to take my faith in God more seriously, which is like truly a good feeling. Now, these are the three lessons I've learned. I've learned a lot of things, and I almost, talked about in this video the three ways that I grew the business itself, like how I got the business up off the ground, how I started making money, how I started getting clients, like these sorts of things. But I realized, like, you know what? I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about the three lessons that I've personally learned in my own life from this venture because it's been 6 months. And some people could say I've been unemployed because technically, bro, I don't have a job, right? I literally run a business that I'm so passionate about that I love more than anything else. And it's pretty cool when you're able to do things that you love, also in the capacity that you want to do them. Right. So let's go right to the video. So, three lessons I've learned since starting my fitness coaching business. Number one is time freedom. Now, time freedom is something you'll never have if you work a 9 to 5 job. I don't care, bro, how much you like being in the environment. You will never have the freedom to go where it is you want, when it is you want. I truly have that freedom now. And I'm super grateful, blessed, thanking the Lord for the opportunities He's given me because having the time freedom to be able to go to the gym and be on the treadmill working, right? If I want to, or if I don't want to, then not working, right? But like being able to be on the treadmill or at the gym, on, like listening to music or listening to a podcast or, you know, working on some of my clients' programs. Like I'm able to actually do that if I want to at the gym. I don't have to be sitting at this desk as much as I do all the time. I really don't have to. There was a period of time when I first started this business, and I left the in-person setting. Also, for a caveat, I worked with a lot of clients, like 90% men, I'd say 95%. And I had a lot of clients. There was a period of time where I had about 40, 50 clients. And it was, to say the least, very stressful. But it was like, okay, some of the people I was meeting all the time, some people I was meeting with just once in a while. And eventually, it was like I always had that handful of clients that always stuck around that wanted to work with me long term. And that's who, the people I love to work with, right? Like they were there to actually learn, take my coaching serious. And those are ultimately the types of clients I wanted to work with, when I started my own business, like people that also had the, thoughts of like, okay, like I'm going to take this serious and make the most of it. I'm not just going to not show up for the sessions, for example, right? Which is very common. So having that time freedom to be able to coach clients online was amazing, right? And when I first left the gym, right, and I started doing this, it was the end of the summer, and I really started to spend a lot of time doing things I hadn't done the past couple of years. I worked for the gym for 2 years, right, and I don't think more than a handful of times I went to the beach, right? So like that first couple of weeks that I started my business, I spent some time at the beach, like traveling, like literally by myself, bro. Like I went up on a trip to New Hampshire. Um, for a couple of days. I went camping. Like I just had done things that I hadn't been able to do for so long because working at the in-person training job, like some of my family members said like, what? When I told them this, but it's like, bro, it is what it is. Like you don't get like paid time off. You don't even get like non-paid time off pretty much, unless you request it. And it's very, very difficult to say the least to get time off as a personal trainer. And even if you do get time off, it's very likely that when you get time off, your clients are going to work with a different trainer. And now it's almost like this revolving door of like you have to always be at the gym if you want to sustain this business. And that was not something that I wanted. And I also started to see like older trainers that worked there that were going through like a lot of stuff and away from their family, right? Like always at the gym. And I didn't want that for myself. So um, that's that. Now, the next thing I'll say is with the time freedom, it also gave me back the time to delve deep into what I actually wanted to do, right? Like in the past when I worked the jobs, not just the train job, but all the other jobs. I've worked at a bank, I've worked in food industries, like I've done marketing jobs, I've worked in sales, like I've done a lot of different things. But when I worked at the gym and then I stepped away, ultimately like stepped away from working for somebody else, working for a W-2 paycheck, like I realized that like not just did I have the freedom to go where I wanted when I wanted, but I also had the freedom to do the type of work that I wanted, right? And so I highly like I remember when I was at the gym, for example, they would give us a curriculum of like work we had to get done, right? And the work was typically speaking something that didn't apply directly to the client. So for example, I love helping clients build muscle. That's my specialty, right? And with that also goes hand in hand with fat loss, right? So as you build more muscle, you're going to shed fat easier and X, Y, Z. But I remember like we had these meetings, right? And I'm trying to help my clients build muscle, and they're focusing on like helping people that have like say an ACL or an MCL tear recover, right? And literally, I had one client ever had some sort of knee related thing, and she was very much like well beyond it, like PT and everything. Years later, and it's like she was very good, and I knew what I needed to do to get her in a position, but like by no means was that my specialty, right? And so I just remember like a lot of these meetings, it just didn't feel like they related to my clients what they actually needed. Like my clients need to shred fat, gain muscle, and they need more accountability. They need somebody that's going to be on top of them and also help them with nutrition. And I wish that I had like a lot of those meetings were more about that, and I got a lot from them, but a lot of it was like, this is how you recover from injuries. This is how you work with an athlete. And it's like, bro, I'm not working with any college athletes. I'm not working with any, high school athletes. I'm not working with like any of these people, right? And I also like work specifically with men mostly when I was there. So like, as much as it's awesome to know, like me learning things about like how to train, like, um, postpartum or like clients that are like about to go into like pregnancy or maybe they're in their first trimester, like I by no means am a specialist in that, bro. And so like I would rather just not have that client. I'd rather give it to, for example, Kelsey, because she's a specialist in that. She's actually very knowledgeable and works with a lot of people just like that, right? So I always felt like with the meetings and the things that they were asking us to do at work didn't align with what my clients actually needed, which was just frustrating to say the least. And so the other aspect of time freedom, not just from being where I wanted when I wanted and being able to still do so, but most importantly, it's being able to devote the time that I want to devote to helping my clients. So now what I do in my free time is like, of course, I work on a lot of my like day to day is business stuff, right? It's marketing, sales, advertising, branding, personal branding, to clarify like things of that nature. Um, a lot of different like social media, right? Content strategies, etc., right? But aside from that, when I do have you know time that I'm devoting to like fitness, it's really about like gaining muscle, and learning the things that I'm already really strong on and just like getting even stronger with in a sense, right? So now I can help my clients. Like I can help, like for example, my client Isaiah. He was running into a lot of like sciatica and some lower back discomfort and things, right? And if you guys that don't know, there's like a sciatic nerve that you have, and basically like that leads to some pain and whatnot, and it's very common, right? And so that's something that I actually dealt with myself for a while, and I hired a coach that specializes in helping people with their lower backs, and it was great because I learned the knowledge from him, and then I studied a lot of his information, and I also dug deep into other information, and that allowed me to help my own clients. And now my clients are like pain free, right? Like that's awesome. And that's why what I mean by like time freedom, like I'm actually able to spend my time researching that stuff, right? Or stretch mediated hypertrophy or lengthening biased muscle growth, for example, right? Terms you may or may not know that are very specialized to building muscle, right? Like that's great. And also like fat loss too, learning more about the nutritional side of things, the psychological side of like behavior, what makes people change. Like this is the stuff I actually spend my time focusing on, researching on, which is where my clients actually need the most help, right? And I don't think that me spending a bunch of time going to like, I mean, I don't know, like researching stuff about like injuries that like not to say people don't ever run into these things, but I didn't want to spread myself thin, to say the least. I wanted to be a specialist in one specific avenue of like building muscle, which is what I love to do, right? And so now all of my clients are in that category, right? And so that's what I mean by time freedom is A, being able to do and go where I want, when I want, and also B, being able to research and learn and apply the information the way I want and not the others, right? Not to say I don't learn other stuff. Of course, like I was listening to a podcast the other day by Jeff Bezos and Lex Friedman, if you guys know him. And it's just all about like space and tech and rockets and stuff. And it's like, bro, that doesn't help my clients, right? But like, it's still cool to know. It's cool to learn about AI and space and all these sorts of things. But majority of my time is spent like learning about like things that I'm already very strong in, but just getting even stronger. So this way, when my clients have questions, I know literally like how to answer them, how to help them. And I'd rather do that and be a specialist in one specific avenue than be spread thin with all these different things. Right? Like I don't need to be a specialist in, helping people run marathons, right? Because or like my clients aren't run. We actually do have a client. Funny to have a client running a marathon in like 6 months. Um, but like he's doing it just to do it, for example, right? Like I don't have world class athletes that I'm working with, so I don't need to specialize in finding all this information out. Like I'd rather just focus on what I'm already good at, if that makes sense. And then the things that I improve on, of course, adding that to the mix in the future, right? But that's what I mean when I say time freedom is like having that, right? That time freedom, really. And the second thing I learned is coaching is literally just helping people make change. Like, bro, helping people make uncomfortable changes that they know they need to make that they aren't making on their own is what coaching is. Coaching is a psychological career. It's not, a fitness career, right? Because there's business coaching, right? There's, finance coaching, there's mindset coaching, there's real estate coaching. There's so many different types of coaching. And I know that coaching is like a newer thing in the space. Um, Maybe also called like a mentorship or whatever. Um, but there's a lot of coaches these days, and it's not just fitness, right? It's all different things. And the one thing that's in common with coaching is like it's just helping people make change, and it's helping people improve and become the best version of themselves, right? So like for me, I'm helping people build muscle, shred fat, all these things, get closer with their faith for some of them that like are asking for help with that, things of this nature. And I'm seeing that like my clients are making amazing results, and it wouldn't have been possible had I just given them everything and then said like, see you later, alligator, I'll see you in 6 months, like here's the plan, just follow it, because that never works. I actually have to work one-on-one with these people, and it's amazing because like all of my clients, like majority of them are like very good friends of mine, and like we have very good relationships, and I appreciate the time, and I love just like jumping on calls with them because it's like, you know I'm helping you, but also like I'm so passionate about what I do that it's so cool to be able to hear like how your life is improving because of like what I'm helping you with. Not for like a selfish reason of like, oh, I feel like I'm fulfilled because I'm helping this person, but like part of it, yeah, but also partly because it's like it's cool when you can see the impact that something that changed your life um also has on other people. Right. So that's what I mean by coaching is helping people make change. And like, the more that you focus on, the more I focus on helping people make change, and the more that I focus on actually getting my clients results and caring for them, the more that like my business improves. And that's the biggest thing I think I've learned next to time freedom is the coaching, right? Like, if people can change their life, every area will improve. First it starts with your finances or your fitness, and then it carries over into your mindset or your relationships, and then that carries over into your career or, you know, the way you think about yourself. Like all these things are correlated. And so that leads to my third and final lesson I've learned since starting my coaching business, and it's that mindset determines outcomes. And when I say mindset determines outcomes, what I mean is actually I'll talk on 2 points here quickly in the video. First point, which I wasn't going to briefly harp on, but now I'm going to because it just came to mind, is like the mindset that my clients have determines their results. the clients that I work with that believe it's possible to actually achieve their ideal physique, put on muscle, shred fat, get into the best shape of their life, and actually believe that it's possible, and they know that they're going to get into the best shape they've ever gone to just by doing the work, those clients get the best results. And if they haven't yet, it's because they started with me recently, and it's just a matter of time, right? But what I wanted to really talk on more so was mindset, like my own mindset. Like my mindset determines the outcomes. My mindset determines how the types of clients that come into my business think about me, right? If I'm going out there and posting, hey, like, anybody that wants to get into shape, um, like, like I'm the coach for you. Like, I'm gonna start to get some people that are like probably not ideal fits, right? But if I start to post specific content and I say like, hey, you have to be this type of person because this is who I specialize in working with, and if you're this person, I'd love to help you make change, right? Then those people end up just finding my business, and it's funny because all the clients I've worked with since they started working with me, all of them literally like enjoy my service, and they're like, dude, like, of course there's outliers and whatnot, but for the most part, it's like they're very happy with the level of service that I've provided them, and it's not just a service; it's like a relationship that we have together, right? And so I've noticed that the periods of times where I've had the best opportunities with my business, and the periods of times where my clients have gotten the best results, and the periods of times where I've enjoyed my business the most, are the periods of time where my mindset is optimized. When I mean optimized, and I say that, what I mean is I truly believe myself to be the best online fitness coach and have the best online fitness coaching program in the world. And you don't have to believe me, but that's truly how I think about it, right? Because my program, for my training programs, my nutrition programs, the way I coach my clients, which is extremely like crucial, and just like the amount of passion I have for the things that I learn about and apply to my clients, that is what sets me apart from all the rest of the coaches in the space. And I've noticed that the more that I believe myself to be that type of coach that has that mindset, that has conviction in himself, that has confidence in himself, and also has clarity on what he wants with his life and his business and the impact he wants to make with it, bringing Jesus Christ in and like helping people come to know the Lord. And like, if you're not a Christian, bro, it's all good. Like, it's nothing against it. But like, and by the way, I like, just to say it, like, I don't like push faith into the, like, I don't like tell my clients like you have to start, like, I don't do any of that, but I just like talk about it, on my social media channels, and I post about it sometimes, and it ends up being my clients that come to me are people that have a relationship with him already, and they want to improve it. And now I'm able to talk about this also with my clients. Or it might be people, and I have a couple clients like this at the moment, where it's like they didn't have a relationship with him prior to, and they've told me, they're like, dude, like, since joining your program, like, not just have my fitness and my finances, my relationships, my career, all improved, my confidence, but also like I've gotten closer with God because I can see the things that you talk about. And they ask me questions, and it's like, dude, like, you can ask me literally whatever, bro. Like, I'm happy to help out. And so those are the three things I learned from my business. Time freedom, which is what I wanted for the longest time. I truly have, and I'm like extremely grateful for what I have, because I know there's so many people that have a job, that work a 9 to 5, that have, responsibilities, and they have to be at a specific place at a specific time. And I just didn't want that for myself, to be honest with you. Not that I'm like lazy, bro. I just like literally always want to be focused on fitness. And it's funny because I was at the gym, right? And you think it's all fitness, but it's like when you're trying to run a business under a corporate's ceiling, right? Like, they're telling you how to run your business. It's not very enjoyable, right? And when I can't help my clients with nutrition, or when my clients are coming in the next week and they canceled the last session and they didn't show up, or they ate a bunch of stuff on the weekend and I have no idea what's going on, that was not like fun by any means. Like, I love getting my clients results. So now when I tell my clients, like, dude, like, just eat these foods, like, you can't help people with nutrition in person, right? Like, there's so many rules against it. You can give them guidelines and like suggestions, but like, in order to actually give them a plan, like, you're not allowed to, right? So being able to do that online is amazing, because as much as the gym and working regular jobs was great, like starting my business, it allowed me to get the freedom back to be able to A, do what I love, but B, do it when I want and on my own schedule. And those are the three things I've learned. Time freedom is like something that nobody can ever take away from you, right? When you have a business, like, bro, you can wake up when you want, you can go to bed when you want, you can do work at a coffee shop, you can do work at the beach, bro. Like, that's pretty cool. But also, you can spend the time learning information that actually applies to your business and that you like doing. And I think that's where fulfillment comes, is doing things that you like to do with your life. And then, coaching is helping people make change. And if you can help people change, then you're going to have a thriving business. But you just have to figure out what it is you want to do. And for me, it's fitness coaching. I mean, again, mindset is what determines outcomes. So if you have the right mindset, then all of this comes to fruition. Now, like for those of you guys that watch the video and stay to the end, just a quick rant on what I personally learned. And I'll have other videos that come out where I talk more in the future about like more of my successes and more of my failures. Definitely going to talk about those a lot more in the future, just for fun, right? Um, but those are just like three things that I've learned, and I think like you guys watching this just should know that any business that you start, you're going to learn a lot of stuff, and also you're going to fail a lot, and you're going to have a lot of pain, a lot of difficulty, a lot of negative emotions, a lot of positive emotions, a lot of doubt, a lot of feelings of lack, like you're not good enough. You're going to have feelings of imposter syndrome, if you want to call it that, or like not feeling like what you're doing is actually there, because it's like for the beginning periods, the first couple of months, maybe you're starting this business, like you're not seeing any results, and you have this business, but it's not really doing much, or you don't really have a lot of clients, right? And then it starts to pick up, and now everything improves. The next thing you know, it's like, okay, like now I literally am a business owner. So those are three things I learned. And anybody that wants to start a business, I would say you probably you definitely will get one in three. And if you're a coaching business, number two, even if you're like a mindset coach or like say a mentor of some sort, number two will also hit home for you. Um, but nonetheless, like I'm here on this channel to help people make change and become best versions of themselves. So that's what coaching is, and that's not just what I do with my clients, but also what I want to share with my YouTube channel, right? My IG and stuff. So if you guys have me on Instagram, you probably see a lot of my content. If you don't, it's Instagram. JStroudFit is my page if you want to check it out. Same as my YouTube. And for any of you guys that are, trying to get into the best shape of your life, put on muscle, achieve your ideal physique, and get shredded by summertime, you can go to my Instagram at JStroudFit and send me a message with the word ready, READY. Very straightforward. If you don't know how to spell that, then probably shouldn't message me. Maybe send me a voice audio. Um, in all seriousness, that's where you can find me on Instagram. And if you want to join my program or even just see if it's a good fit, then you can message me ready and we'll set up a time